Very much, Kevin. And I wanted to thank you and Andrew for inviting us here to, I think this is the most anticipated topic of the day, isn't it? Improving vessel efficiency through new technology, propulsion and retrofit technology. I'm here joined by the panelists, Wei Jie, Karan Khinchi, Adrian Shakib, and Stephan Vetter. It's like I had to learn the names last night, and I hope I didn't. Thank you. So, as I just mentioned, we wanted to discuss the important topic of how do we improve vessel efficiency with new propulsion and retrofit technologies. And we have here two more or less technical experts, and also two representatives from larger banks in the marine space. I wanted to start with Adrian today. Adrian, MAN being in the forefront of engine and propulsion technology, what trends are you observing with your owners in terms of decision-making, how to either retrofit existing vessels or make decisions on new builds?
Yeah, so there's a wide variety of retrofit solutions out there. And it's everything from small retrofit products, where it doesn't, require decision making, a big decision making. They are relatively quick to implement, and this is mostly the answer to the CII ratings of the vessel to try to, save every gram fuel that we can out there. So these are really quick solutions that go on, and we see a lot of demand on there. And the next one is really the result of EEXI, because the vessels have slowed down. And just a little technical recap, the vessels are designed to be optimum at a certain speed. We call them the design speed, right? And when they slow down, when they change the operational profile, then there are a lot to be done to redesign the propeller and perhaps optimize the engine. We call it derating. Those projects are case-by-case studies that requires a little bit more time and more capital, of course, to do. The third one that is really mentioned not so much here is digitalization, connectivity of the vessels. And sometimes it's a little bit surprising that in 2024, we sit down and we still talk about, please connect your vessels, start gathering the data. And we are being really going after when it comes to other industries, in gathering data and use the hype word of AI and helping us to make the fleet optimized. So, but digitalization is ongoing as well. But no matter how efficient our fleet becomes, there is only this much to gain. The question becomes, how far do we get with that? We're still burning diesel, right? We're still burning fossil fuels. So at the end of the day, the question is, do we meet our targets? These solutions are important, but it doesn't really take us all the way to where we need to be. And this is dual fuel conversions come up. And this is the last one, right, the big one, that requires both a lot of effort during the project execution and building up the project, but also the uncertainties that comes after it. And as we sit here and talk about dual fuel conversion, the first methanol dual fuel conversion for two-stroke engines is taking place in China right now. And there are 50 more to come, 2026, 2027, 2028.
Thank you, Adrian. And it's very interesting to hear that there are currently conversions going on for methanol. But just wanted to go back on that point. I believe that is not really an option for every vessel type. I mean, it's probably for a larger vessel at the moment, and the fuel conversion is probably not a good solution or affordable solution for all vessel types.
Yeah, exactly. So not all retrofit projects or solutions are available for all vessel types, right? And the beauty of marine industry and shipping industry that makes it so exciting, it somewhat became our worst enemy. And there are no two vessels that are the same. Even sister ships vary. to some extent, because they learn on the new first one and they want to implement on the next one. And so the first thing is to see, okay, what can we do for this specific vessel? What retrofit solutions are available? And when we find it, then we go to next one. And whenever you hear someone says the word case by case, it more or less means we need time and resources in the organization to carry out.
Thank you. Wade, dear, I'm interested to hear what near-term technologies you see that can be deployed in order to reduce emissions. Can you share?
Yeah, hello. I think people generally are aware of your changes to propeller boss caps, perhaps even slow steaming. So these are measures that people can take today, or even weather routing. I think what we are looking at GCMD are things that are slightly a bit more longer term, a bit more capex intensive, things like your air lubrication, things like your wind propulsion. And the reason we're looking at this is, right, firstly, they are suitable for retrofits, although not all, depending on your routes, but they give you a very immediate or short-term way to sort of enhance the efficiency of the vessels. And not forgetting that these are also applicable to future fuels, right? When we talk about ammonia, methanol, they are about 2.5 times less energy dense than your current HFO. And they're going to be more expensive. So using such devices can actually sort of stretch how much you can go with the energy content that you're carrying on board. And this is also the reason why we think that such energy efficiency technologies are going to be important. And I guess trialing it now will help us, understand what are some of the performance measures, what are some of the applicabilities, and then how we can deploy them on a wider basis.
Thank you. So, Karan, I mean, this is marine money, so everyone is interested. Do you see some of these technology preferences with your clients, and which are they?
Yeah, I think we gather a lot of interest, from 2 or 3 technologies, and something that Vijay referred to, the air lubrication is one of them. Then we also have the bow windshield, which is actually generally, getting clients excited. And then people are also looking at alternate fuels and dual fire engine. Of course, that's been out there. But that said, every technology has its own limitations, challenges, and again, we understand, for example, for the air lubrication system, it typically works better on a shallower draft vessels. It doesn't really work better on deeper drafts. So that limits the application to certain vessel types. What we also understand is, interestingly, it works better on certain trade routes. So it works better, east-west routes rather than the north-south routes. So there are certain nuances which have to be factored in. But we at Standard Chartered, we are solution agnostic. I think we actually lean on technical experts. We lean on our clients to kind of identify the right solution. We play our part by financing and coming up with innovative ways of financing those solutions. So, yeah.
Thank you. You are very well informed on air lubrication, so I'm very impressed. Stephan, how does KfW IPEX see themselves in the role of promoting decarbonization?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a supporting role for decarbonization project in the maritime industry. Always good to have M&N with us on the panel. Yeah, no, definitely a supporting role for the decarbonization project in the maritime industry. And apart from our traditional role as a lender for providing long-term financing for the maritime industry, I think the envisioned role is really, the best definition would be, to be a door opener. Yeah, a door opener for sustainable finance, which includes sustainability-linked loan, green loans, to offer a potential pricing reduction also for the ship owners. So very good pricing for the ship owners that they can afford these new technologies. And we also want to be a door opener to export credit agencies, because they play an important role, because they support green technology with their insurances. And this creates also additional appetite from financial parties, and also reduces the technology risk for banks as well. And apart from that, we also want to be a door opener for know-how exchange between financing parties, ship owners, and suppliers as well. So we have the access to a lot of European suppliers, and they are top-notch in their technology with retrofit solutions, engines, and so on. And we really want to bring the people together to have that know-how exchange. That's why we also propose to have Adrian today on the panel here. And time by time, we do webinars with suppliers, with decarbonization solution providers, really to exchange our views and to collaborate even more.
Stephan, interestingly, you just said you wanted to act as a door opener, but then I want to ask you a counter question. I mean, what do you see are the limiting factors for financing?
Limited number of green vessel projects right now. I think we all would like to do more, yeah? Standard Chartered would like to do more green financing, we would like to do more, but when we are honest, there are not too many green loans at the moment in the market. Yeah, and this is because there are not too many green vessel projects in the market, and we heard, I think, about it already, like contract prices are high, uncertainty on technology, supply of alternative fuels is uncertain, late delivery dates, and these are limiting factors. And apart from that, when you look on the retrofitting side, I think there are also not many big retrofitting programs right now from the ship owners. So the majority of the ship owners, they focus on pilot projects, like installing a few rotor sails on their vessels, collect the data, and then to, at a certain point of time, to expand these new technologies on the whole fleet. Yeah, we are convinced that will happen at a certain point of time, but at the moment that's a limiting factor. And another thing which also limits us, yeah, or is not an incentive, I would say, is that we don't get an incentive from the regulator on green projects. So we have to reserve the same amount of RWA, so equity, for a normal shipping loan and a green loan. So we don't get an incentive from the regulator to do more green projects.
Then I have to refer back to what Mark Cameron said earlier. Are we not bringing enough compelling arguments to get those incentives? Is that what's going on right now?
I think we really try our best, you know, we talk to the regulator so much, yeah, and they want to talk to us, and I think there's a big pressure on the whole market to do more. Yeah, but this would really help us to provide better offers even to our clients. Yeah, and I think we are in a very competitive market, but especially to bring more arguments to provide a better pricing, I think that would even help, yeah, to make these green projects work. And maybe also one advice to the ship owners here, because like, there's enough financing in the market right now, commercially ECA solutions, but you should also check whether there are promotional programs or subsidies available for green projects. Yeah, and if we have more of these projects, then also like the pricing gap between a conventional fueled vessel and, for example, ammonia fueled vessel, there's still some pricing gap, right? And with subsidies, for example, that could be reduced.
Yeah, thank you, Stephan. So that Karan. And in expanding on what Stephan has said, I mean, retrofits or new builds require large investments. So how would you assist your clients with this project?
Yeah, I think so. The team has been busy kind of supporting clients on retrofits. And one of the more interesting kind of offerings that the client have opened up to, and it has won certain awards in the past as well, has been around SLL-driven loans. And I think these can be structured depending on clients' ambitions and goals with respect to transition, and most of these solutions actually support that objective. So, you know, these can be structured with bi-directional ratchet, such that if you deliver on the agreed KPIs, and these KPIs could be on vessel efficiencies, could be on, emissions reductions. So as long as you deliver on that, you get benefit, in terms of how the SLLs are structured. Beyond that, we have also very recently updated our transition framework with respect to vessel financing, and under that, any sort of transactions for vessel financing, as long as it meets certain gating criteria, which are aligned with Poseidon principles, it can be labeled as transition labeled. In fact, I think very recently we just labeled air lubrication system financing for one of the leading container vessels as transition. One may ask, what's the benefit? I think from a client perspective and even from a financier point of view, you always want to widen the pool of liquidity, and I think these solutions, whether you can label things as sustainable transition, cater towards that. It's about widening the pool of liquidity. It's about getting access to capital that wants to be deployed. I think there is more capital available than projects, so you should tap into that. And going through these kind of mechanism and structuring where we at Stanchart are fairly well equipped to do that for our clients, I think is one way to go about it.
Thanks. Would it be fair for me to say that getting financing for retrofits is harder than for new builds? Financing for retrofits is more difficult than receiving financing for new builds. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, I think retrofits does bring itself certain different level of complexity and risk profile versus new builds. So anything to do with kind of changing an existing operational vessel is of course different risk profile than something you're building for a certain operational design specification. So there is some level of kind of difference in terms of how financier would look at the risk profile of these two financing. So yeah, there is some element of truth, but at the same time, if the new build is also not designed to drive certain efficiency improvement and it's not designed to drive certain sort of CII improvement, then you could argue that hey, maybe there is more appetite to support retrofits, which is about driving more efficiency, becoming more efficient.
Yeah, you make a good point. Now we are with the topic and limiting factors and barriers. Adrian, do you see any barriers when it comes to technical aspects, challenges, and what's really standing in the way of decarbonization?
We share. It's okay. Just before I answer your question, I had the latest numbers I've seen for the difference between placing order of a new build for single fuel and dual fuel at the yards. That difference is almost the price of the retrofit right now. So it does make sense that the vessel that was built 5-10 years ago, if we had that price on the top, we get as good quality because that vessel was not as expensive when it was built. So there is an incentive there with the high new build prices. Of course, it makes more sense to retrofit, right? In terms of the challenges and obstacles, it sounds like we almost talk about them only. I think that the biggest challenge is really that there's so many things that need to come together to make it happen. And you could also hear from different panelists, right? No two ships are the same, as I mentioned before, so we need to see what we can do for that ship type and that engine type, if it's possible to retrofit or make a conversion to dual fuel. And these projects are heavy projects, right? So then we go back to the negative side of the diversity, of course, that I was talking about, because owners are of different types, right? Not all of them have the same technical muscle to actually execute these projects. And then there are different agreements between the stakeholders, spot chartering, time chartering, and passing the cost becomes an issue, right? Financing is something, and passing a cost is another issue. In some segments, it's very segmented and fragmented, right? Some segments have it easier to pass the cost to the consumers, and in B2B, if the cargo owner is not so proactive in helping this push forward, then it stands still, right? But things are happening slowly. We move forward. The question is if it's fast enough. The technology are there, the methanol engines are there, they're mature. The first conversions are happening right now. Ammonia is coming up. and 2025, 2026 will be there as well. Another challenge is really the way we interact with these fuels, right? We say the container crew don't have an experience to deal with the gases, right? The gas carriers, crew know the gas and know what to do on board the vessel. So there are so many things that need to come together. And yeah, these conferences like Marine Money will help. Yeah.
So Wejia, do you agree with what Adrian just said, and do you see ways to reduce some of the barriers to accelerate the process?
Yeah, and I think they have said it right. Retrofit is always harder. But the reality is ships that are delivered today, they are going to be in water in 2040, 2050. So they're going to be they need to comply with IMO's revised targets, right? And I guess that's where retrofits have to play a role. And I think this is also where GCMD comes in to answer the hard question. How do we make retrofits easier? I think one of the things that we are piloting, not just on the hardware, is really on the contractual arrangement. How do we understand and address the split incentive so that charterers, financiers, and owners, people who pay for the hardware, actually get benefits out of doing such retrofits? We are scoping out a few pilots, trying to do it. Largely, this is all based on proven technologies, but it is really the contracts that we are piloting, right? Getting people who are a bit more forward-leaning in terms of the financing side, in terms of the chartering contracts, to come up with more creative ways to sort of get this from a performance-based kind of contract arrangement, trying to get people to agree on what sort of data validation is needed so that we can remove the noise. People agree on the certain common data standards so that when emission reductions comes in, when fuel savings comes in, this can then be distributed among the charterers, financiers, and of course the owners. Yeah, so I think this is one way that we are trying. We hope to get one of these pilots launched by end of this year. And then if this works, that definitely is for us to share how the arrangement was done. And we do hope that people join us in this journey.
You just mentioned pilot, and I know for a fact, and your colleague Shane has mentioned it earlier, you just came back from Pilbara from a successful ammonia bunkering. Is there any relevant experience that you would like to share with this audience? Because I think it's a relevant topic, ammonia is.
Yeah, so personally, that's my second job in GCMD, co-leading our work on ammonia as a marine fuel. I guess the thing is, right, we wanted to do it in Pilbara because if you think about the GMF Green Iron Ore Corridor, they do identify Pilbara and Singapore as the two areas where bunkering will take place. But if you look at Pilbara region, right, bunkering has never taken place there. So let alone ammonia, right? So if you can't do HFO, what makes you think you can do ammonia bunkering? And being GCMD, right, what we want to do is not to wait for the perfect solution. So we can't wait for the first bunker vessel to be ready before we start trials. And that's the reason why we brought in 2 gas carriers, literally. And I guess everyone of you know how much it costs to bring in these kind of vessels. So it takes a lot of partnership to get this done. Bringing them in, putting in extra equipment so that it is beyond a conventional STS transfer, to test out how we can deal with the emergency response, how we can deal with risk mitigation, so that authorities like EMSA, the Pilbara Port authorities, are comfortable with getting this transfer done. So we have learned a lot in terms of the configuration, in terms of the time required to set up the whole thing. That gives us a very good guidance in terms of how bunkering can take place, what sort of risk mitigation measures need to be in place. And I think it is also in our interest to share this by end of this year with the wider public. And of course, we are looking forward to our next trial to sort of enhance what we have learned, taking into different geographies and then help different locations sort of build up their capabilities for ammonia bunkering.
Thank you. Just to get an idea, how much time did it take to plan this, and how much time did you spend in Pilbara just to get this one bunkering completed?
Right. So it's actually 2 transfers. So we did 2 transfers within 5 days. So that includes putting all the equipment on board, doing the transfer, and getting it back on shore. So that's about 5 days. But the planning work took us from the start of this year, roughly maybe 7 months, and a lot of time is really waiting for the actual ship. I guess people in this room will know how early I can charter or look for the ship that's available. Bringing a ship to Pilbara, you need to calculate time, availability, and that's just 1 ship, let alone 2. So yeah, it took us about maybe 7-8 months to get all the safety studies done, to clear all the regulators, and then of course doing the actual work. And actually, the actual work is the easiest. It is really the preparation that is the challenge.
You were staying on board during that time, right? A couple of days?
Yes, I was on board the support vessel, that's the Coronite. So it was there for standby to look after in case of emergency, to do emergency towage, to also, you know, in case of firefighting. So that's also a FIFI-capable vessel.
Thank you. In the last questions, I would actually ask Adrian and then Stephan, also Karan, what advice would you give your clients? Adrian, maybe first, and then technology, whether it's new build or retrofits. Can you share successful studies or implementation that would help the audience to understand what it takes to fight the challenges and barriers that comes with it?
Yeah, the advice, this train is moving ahead. So it's just a matter of when we jump on it. 2021, I think 10% of the new build vessels were dual fuel. Today, more than half of them are dual fuel. So the alternative fuel are coming up, and we need to agree that something needs to be done with the existing vessels. Advice is one word: collaborate. There's no way we can do this alone. This is a nice forum. You see the financial parts, banks, lawyers, we all go together to do this. And I can give you an example that I did some investigation to see a potential for dual fuel conversion, and there were 22 vessels, sister vessels, built by the same shipyard. They are the same engine type that is valid to retrofit, right, convert. They are owned by 5 different owners, managed by 6 different managers around the world. Now, if we could talk to a yard to bring all these owners together, right? They develop a good business case. Perhaps we get a financing. We raise the volume. We spread the risk. And we are not in it alone, right? So it becomes cheaper for a supplier. We do one engine design, right? Because the engineering is a big cost to put on one vessel, but 22 will absorb it easily. The yard will gain volume. The owners will do something together. Even though they're competitors, they spread the risk and the price will go down. There's no one owner that could do this alone. And so collaborate with other owners, collaborate with yards, collaborate with suppliers, do different strategic projects, and we move this forward. It's possible. I'm positive.
Thank you. Stephan, do you agree? Is that possible on finance side, also bringing several banks together, several owners?
Collaborate with banks. No, I mean, honestly, that would be my advice. Don't be scared of, that there's no financing available. There will be financing available also for retrofit programs, projects, yeah. But start early to talk to your banker to find the right solution, yeah. And then, as I said, maybe there are promotional programs available, there are subsidies available. The earlier you take care of that, the better the chances that you also receive them and you benefit from them. And I think then, from a financing side, I can definitely say there's enough appetite and really to decarbonize the maritime industry.
Karan.
Yeah, I would pretty much echo what Stephan said. You know, engage early. That's going to be key. I mean, this is happening. I would agree with Adrian. This is probably unidirectional. Some of the solutions will take time to mature. So even from a financier standpoint, we would need to spend time to understand the risk and understand, how to go about structuring the financing around it. So early engagement is going to be key. More deeper engagement is going to be key. And collaboration. I think that's the way to go about it.
Thank you. I think the consensus are if we collaborate and work together, we can make it happen. Right? I believe we have a few minutes for questions if anyone has a question for the panel.
Come on, collaborate with us. Yeah?
No questions? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you to the panel.
Thank you.